a lot going on. Can I just show off my Monstera Obliqua? I know it's tiny. They grow fast according to the grower. This is my Apicia pink smoke that I have with it to create a little greenhouse in here. And there's moss. So I was actually afraid. I made a mini greenhouse that's much larger than this, and I'm afraid to put it in there right away. I had some other small plants that I put in my mini greenhouse, and they did okay, but there's something to figure out in there. I think it's the humidity or something like that. So anyway, I have successfully propagated from flower stems a keiki, a baby orchid. You can see it in there. It's kind of hard to see. So let me pull it out for you. So I made a mini greenhouse. I actually have 3 keikis growing, and I'm gonna make a video on how to do this because I saw this on YouTube and I thought, no way, can grow a baby orchid off of a flower stem. And then everyone I saw on YouTube who tried it failed. And I know exactly why they failed. So when you create an environment like this, you have to sterilize it. So you need to take hydrogen peroxide, spray out your pots. Sometimes you even need to do a small hydrogen peroxide wash. You need to at least use alcohol and then clean everything that you're putting these baby plants in. Otherwise, you could contaminate it. And I'm learning about coconut bark and coconut husks. You know, it's kind of like the shredded bark, the shredded skin of a coconut. So that's what these grow really, really well in, these monsteras. I've always done a cactus slash perlite slash worm castings, and it works great for my elbow. I have people tell me all the time on Instagram that my elbows look incredibly healthy. I have a white leaf that's been open now for weeks, at least a couple weeks, and there's no browning. There's no browning on the top leaves. There wasn't even browning on one of the plants that shipped here from another collector in California. And I think it's because we have good environment. We've got humidifiers. So anyway, let's talk more about Obliqua. So I know you guys might think this is not an Obliqua, but I want to film the journey. Somehow the universe has blessed me with 2 Obliquas. So I bought, they're very expensive. Like, you know, the teeny tiny ones, this size, are gonna run you $1,000 or more. And luckily, I have 2 coming because the first one, they expected that the leaves would break or that the plant would die because there was one small mistake in packaging it when shipping. So they just went ahead and sent a second one because they knew there was probably gonna be damage. And thank you so much. I want to send a shout out to House of Monstera. You guys are incredible growers and collectors, and you're the real deal. If you guys have seen Kaylee Ellen on YouTube, hi Kaylee Ellen. I do watch you too. And I watch Plantarina. If you ever see this, I love you, Plantarina. You're probably my favorite plant lady. Not that I need to choose, but you're just so funny. And you've got me thrifting and planting and thrifting and planting. So I'm gonna document this whole journey with my Obliqua. I feel like I can't talk without it in the shot with me. Should we just go like this? So I'm so excited about this. I have 2 I have 1 more coming, and I could have gotten a variegated Adansonii, and I decided those are actually more expensive than juvenile obliquas. But if this Obliqua was big with fenestration and runners, it'd probably run you in the thousands of dollars. So you need to be a serious grower and collector if you want a pretty plant that has holes in the leaves that looks like an obliqua, but you're not a collector, get the Swiss cheese plant, which is the Monstera Adansonii, not the variegated version. So the variegated version is on my wish list. So this little guy, his poor top leaf came off, is beautiful. He's gonna live in my mini greenhouse. So what I did is I put clay pebbles on the bottom. I put a friend in there because friends create humidity. So there's pebbles, and I'm keeping the pebbles and the moss moist. And this has, it's a mixture of coconut husk, worm castings, perlite, maybe a little bit of sand, or almost like a cactus mix is in there, is what it looked like to me. This is what came with the plant. And I then got coconut bark, and coconut bark and coconut husk, what's really strange that I discovered is it's really easy to get coconut bark and coconut husk if you look for it in the reptile world. So reptiles need really, really clean. Let me go grab the bag for you guys. I put the obliqua down. So if you look for this in the plant world, you're gonna have a hard time finding this. This is Repti chip. This is actually a nice bag. Let me see. This is their 8-quart coarse coconut chip mix. So what I did was I put the coconut husk mixed with the dirt and all that right around the root ball, and then I gave it a little air on the top, but I put some moist coconut chips because I think that this little plant will thrive, and that way the top of the root system, where it kind of wanted to stick out the top, it's not going to get damaged by lights, and it's going to have a little humidity and coverage. So I want to let this obliqua live in this little pot as long as it can. So this is even a little larger than what you could plant it in. Monsteras tend to like to be a little bit root bound, but also keep in mind, I've proven that theory wrong. So when you take a small Monstera deliciosa and you plant it in a larger pot, it gets gigantic really fast. Like the same size plant I kept in a little bit smaller container, and one of them is like triple the size. So don't be afraid of using a little larger pot. You might notice your plant's growing its root system for longer, and then all of a sudden it'll shoot out like huge growth. So the root system might grow a little longer because there's so much space. What you don't want to do is drown your plant with too much space. This, I don't want to take the risk. This little guy is going in just the right size pot with a little extra room to grow. But you can drown your plant because it has a tiny root system when it's this size. So if you don't plant it right at the right time into the larger pot where it's established enough, then what can happen is when you water the soil will stay really wet for a long time, and it can grow fungus and rot the roots because it can't dry out. The plant's not soaking water up that far out in the plant. So when I say use larger pots, sometimes I don't mean use a gigantic pot and like kill your plant, okay? All right, so we're gonna make, this is a handmade bio orb. Those bio orbs are like $400 and they're pretty big. I made my little greenhouse, which is much bigger than that, and it fits standard size seed trays in it. And it was a $20 setup, and I got the humidifier, the heating mats, the trays, like everything you need in it for under $100. And it's a home-sized greenhouse. It's a little tiny one. The only thing is my humidifier doesn't automatically turn on and off, so I'm finding the tiniest programmable mini humidifier I can find. And I found one tonight. It's about toaster size, like this. And so it should be narrow enough to kind of stick it on the edge, and it'll turn itself on and off, and it won't turn itself on that often in a small greenhouse like that. I also have a big greenhouse on my deck, not too big, but just walk-in size, like shed size. We had a disaster. I was a little overzealous in putting my plants in there, and we had like a 90-degree day, and I'm totally inexperienced with having an outdoor greenhouse that's in the sun, and it got like over 100 degrees in there. So most of the plants were okay, but some of them, it just fried them in certain places. There's a few of my orchids I've had for a long time that aren't gonna make it, but that's okay. I was trying to transition them outside because I have collector's plants and, you know, really unusual, hard to find plants. So this is my homemade orb, and I know this will work because orchids are really finicky. And unless these orchid stems are in the right conditions, they won't produce a keiki. So I know this little guy, he's gonna be under a grow light for a lot of hours. I found these really cool little grow lights that they're like 20 bucks. You can go to a hydroponics store if you're in a state that has a lot of those, if you know what I mean. And you can get grow stuff, heating mats. I ordered my growing trays online, but let me wrap it up because we're at about 10 minutes here. So we wetted everything down. I should have showed you the whole planting, but I was just like terrified to get this little guy in his home. Okay, we're putting his friend back in there. Thank you, Plant Haul, for my little Epicia. Uh-oh, so I see a problem. See that leaf is really close to the edge. We're gonna turn the plants a little bit. This guy's just kind of like growing sideways because that's what he wants to do. So I will update you on growing the Obliqua. There's really not a whole lot of videos on how these are propagated and how to care for them. There's a lot of videos on, oh my God, they're so rare. You can't get them, but once something gets more popular and there's more of a demand, then more collectors and growers start to grow them and share them. So that's a good thing, but this is a complicated plant. So it's already looking happier since I watered it, got it in its soil, and I've put it under the grow light for a while now. All right, there will be Obliqua updates. I'm gonna film another video right now on the whole keiki situation. Have a good night, planty tubers. Join me on Instagram at Indoor Planty. It's Indoor Planty everything. So Indoor Planty on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. IndoorPlanty.com goes to my Etsy store. I really don't have a lot of cuttings right now. I've been very busy at my day job. I have a national skincare line. So we have thousands of spas that use my skincare line, and that's been my line of business for 17 years. I also love all living things and plants, and I've always had plants, but I've gotten into collecting since I needed a hobby that would help. Basically, and I'm getting serious here, I had anxiety and depression at a level that I never had last year, and it was due to a health issue going on and being my age. You know, we ladies go into perimenopause, and basically, you know, I feel like this year plants are a big reason that my stress and anxiety is lower. I want to teach you guys to plant with your family. I want to teach you to plant because you don't want to get out of bed because you're so depressed. Get out of bed and touch a plant. I know when you're feeling that way that you don't even want to get up and get out of bed. You don't want to brush your teeth, you don't want to brush your hair, but if you can start surrounding yourself with some little living things, you know, and some simple plants that you can care for that aren't going to die on you right away, then it's very rewarding. Right, love you guys. Obliqua madness. I got obliqua fever. Bye-bye.